This episode of Arrays of Living discusses prepping for change. Prepping is an interesting concept, especially given change is constant. I mean, how can one prep for something that is always present, whether we like it or not? Many times people challenge me when I point this out. Even as I speak, change has already occurred. One example I tend to use with those same people relates to our bodies. And our bodies changes literally every minute of each day, even when we sleep. When cold weather comes, our skin can get flaky. And so we prepare for that by having different creams, oils, and using exfoliating bath products. I literally just bought some. And I certainly use them more in winter than in summer, hence why I bought some. I once shopped with someone who paid $400 for hand cream. So you can imagine how important these things are to us. Now, when we look at how our body changes, each morning we awaken with plaque on our teeth. So we ensure to have a toothbrush and toothpaste to remove what plaque we can. We visit a dentist to remove what we cannot, and we get them to check for and correct any kind of detrimental changes in our mouth. We also quietly acknowledge all of these changes by preparing in advance the things and routines needed. We pre-book our appointments to see doctors such as the dentist, optometrists, and family doctors. And by the way, family doctors are becoming a rare commodity for some. So be grateful if you have one. A slight digression, but I know people who don't. And even without a family doctor, we can visit clinics. What's interesting is we tend to address the everyday recurring changes under the consumerism labels of lifestyle, household, beauty, or health needs. Hence why the industry supporting gum and teeth health designs toothbrushes to come in a variety of styles and add-on perks. It makes the buying of them fun. It makes us stock them for when guests come. It makes us change them every 3 months or so. Under what label do you place your hair maintenance, for example? Maintenance of your hair is necessary because of changes that have occurred, for which we give a change response to either dye the hair, wash the hair, comb it, cut it, or all of the above. The same goes for your nails and whatever other physical changes you see fit to address or not. Slight diversion again, I happen to have lost an uncle in the extended family who got wind of changes occurring in his body, ignored those changes until it was impossible to do that, and quickly passed away in a really very short time frame from prostate cancer. And that blindsided everyone. And that's something change can sometimes do. I get that we don't necessarily look at these everyday things that way. We don't typically put them into the umbrella of change. We've managed to frame them under basic necessities. After all, most of them, if not all, were taught to us by others, namely our parents who introduced morning and bedtime routines that included brushing and flossing our teeth. Then life forced us to learn others, such as getting gray hair or seeing a new hairstyle we like, or embracing a new trend like painting our bodies. Reframing our perspectives to look at these everyday actions as a response to change can improve how we see change or deal with change overall. And that can start with appreciating that it is there even when we think it isn't. We are always in a change response state, and that change truly is a constant. It's inevitable in our lives. So why pretend it isn't there? Why camouflage it? Now, so far, I have used everyday changes to simply drive home my point that these small habitual changes that we no longer frame as change are indeed changes. In the grand scheme of life, I consider them as small ones, with the exception of puberty. I think we can all agree puberty was a big and significant change. Now, continuing on the path, we are mere weeks from end of year. 2023 is around the corner. It's almost upon us. And I am leveraging this podcast to restate that we are heading into a changed time. I have said this in many, many different ways throughout the year, and I have done so more urgently in these latter months leading into year end. And notice by saying we are heading into a changed time that I use the word change in the past tense. That is because times have already changed, and that change will continue to refine as the weeks etch away into 2023 and onward. Unlike the everyday changes I called out, this change is far from everyday. Anyone who's sitting waiting for a return to pre-pandemic times is not being realistic. That time has passed. It is a time past. The change we are in, functioning under a new normal, what someone I know calls a new world, and that new normal requires a new us. What do I mean by that? We are in a time that requires us to strive for excellence, meaning we must bring our A game. Mediocrity is not the new currency going forward, and my job right now to get your attention to fight for the life you want. Playing ostrich is not in your interest. Complacency would result in being left behind. I don't want that for me, and I certainly don't want it for you. Case in point, let's look at what's around us. Let's really look at what's going on around us. Self-checkouts are on the rise, which equates to a reduction in cashiers. Any cashiers that remain right now in a store will be those having longer tenure or seniority or more experience or even better skills. This trend of machines replacing humans is advancing. It wasn't like that 5 years ago. It wasn't like that 3 years ago. Artificial intelligence is here, what I can only call capitalism, to save companies the proverbial dollars. I find it hard to believe it is going away. In my mind, it's not going away. Time, money, and energy is currently, as we speak, being spent on perfecting artificial intelligence, commonly known as AI. In fact, I consider it will start to pick up in 2023. And that will happen despite people like me deliberately avoiding the self-checkout lines to support the human job hiring aspect of things. But here's the reality check. Self-checkout still continues to dominate, even though there's me and others deliberately going to the human person, the live person at the cash. So what happens to those displaced by self-serve automated options? Well, some will say they simply have to adapt. And some will say the same phenomena occurred with receptionists and live support agents on the phone. The writing's on the wall. And in order to address what it means for us, we must desire growth. We must want to grow. We must want to do more. We all have to adapt in a world now more capitalistic than not, more technology guided than not, in a world where democracy is being challenged on so many fronts, a world that is pushing excellence beyond education. It will create discomfort. This new world will create uncertainty, and it will create in many fear. But what do I always call fear? Face everything and rise. That's what fear stands for me. Face everything and rise. And that's just a bunch of words pulled together that says you desire growth, that pushes for you to desire growth. And yet those are the same ingredients needed for growth. Discomfort, uncertainty, fear are the ingredients needed to help push growth in ourselves and around us. And I'm not here to speak on politics or on socialism or even on conspiracy theories, which, by the way, always seems to have remnants of truth interwoven in them. Just saying. I'm here to speak about us, the human element of change. For sure, we are impacted. And we must also recognize the need to figure out how we're impacted and to prepare accordingly. Hence why this episode's called Prepping for Change. What are your next steps? Are you actively seeking to be informed? Or are you passively looking for media or others or somebody else to inform you? I suppose I will fall within the category of self-seeking information, metrics, pattern interrupts, and energy changes. And I'm alerting you to get informed, to pay closer attention, and to plan your next steps. If you just became a cashier and your company is putting in self-checkout lines and expanding on that, what does it mean for you? Doesn't it mean you need to step up? Doesn't it mean you need to look at your circumstance, see how you're impacted, and make sure you can weather that storm when it happens? Right? You know, everyone, really, it is time to wake up. It's time to self-inform. It's time to decipher concrete from abstract, direction from misdirection. It's time to choose you, to create your unique life. It's time to opt for your divinity and what I call divintastical living. Get in the driver's seat of your life, because what most of us are calling living right now ain't it. Fundamental change is upon us, and I'm asking all of you to grasp that truth and figure your path through it. Every one of us reacts to change, some less than others, yet nonetheless we react. I'm a change practitioner certified. I react to change, but I recognize my reaction and then I turn it around and say, no, yes, change is upon us, but how can I turn this into an opportunity? What is in this change for me potentially? What do I need to do to weather the change? Any resistance felt, however it is presented or displayed, is really about having things stay as they are. That's when we want things to stay as they are because we're comfortable. But what if that comfortable isn't in your best interest? What if it isn't? Then shouldn't you do something about it? What if you instead decide to see what benefits the change could have for you? And as a certified change practitioner, I'm schooled to help people and organizations through change, usually large, impactful changes that could affect roles, team dynamics, departments, and for sure, everyone involved's lives as they knew it. The changes I've put out have, yes, impacted people's lives. Some very positive, some not so positive, but then we look to get everybody on the side of positivity. Recently, we saw the antics of Elon Musk related to staff. And what I see is an influential person using that influence to set the tone for future conduct related to human capital, aka the staff. And I asked in that situation about the likelihood of someone paying billions for a company only to have it crash and burn. That made no sense for me. So what is the real play underlying the antics the media chooses to focus on? Again, we get into this illusionary of truth effect. I would suggest, and this is just an example I call out, but I would suggest you follow my Illusion of Truth Effect articles, and I'll have a link for you in the description. So you can go and read it and understand what that's all about. But these types of things are, aspects of it. And I mentioned this recent news splash only because it supports that the change we are in right now is about each of us striving for excellence, whatever excellence is for you. Mine is about delivering topics to change perspectives, to change lives. Mine is about being excellent in helping clients see their worthiness and move beyond pain, move beyond limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, trauma, and really step into their magnificence. But I have to ask you, what is excellence for you? What do you need to weather the recession, the political unrest that we're in, the displacement of roles, the price hikes that's going on in inflationary times we're in, and to survive beyond base survival? How do we flourish? How do we thrive in these things? What do you need to do that? Do you need new resources, tools, strategies? And if you do, what will you do about it to be in the change, prepped for positive outcomes? How will you get there? Because that's what I'm talking about when I say prepping for change. What new skills will you get? What new resources will you put into your life to ensure that you can weather the change and come out thriving on the other side? Because that's where we need to start looking, because we are in the change right now. And I need your attention to recognize that and to start assessing it from your perspective, from your capabilities, from your needs, and say, how do I get past it? How do I make sure I'll be okay? And if you need help with that, please reach out using the links in the description. And please check out the article. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of Arrays of Living. And please be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You will also find in the description below my email address should you want to reach out, and I am happy if you do. And just to be sure, it's jen@youareworthmore.co, and worth more you definitely are. And lastly, also see the link that will allow you to schedule a meet and greet with me. And that's an opportunity for me to meet you and you to meet me, and for us to have a chat. And that would be wonderful and welcoming. So please hit the link and let's set up a meet and greet.